Good morning. My name is Sonja Zečević, and I'm sending you so much love from Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Moments like this with a cup of tea are so precious. These are the moments when we get to reconnect with ourselves, enjoy and relax, and truly focus on a present moment. Today, I'm drinking a chai tea, the one I really like, but I didn't have in a while, and it brings up so many good memories. Many years ago, growing up in Serbia, I couldn't even imagine living the life I live today. There were so many moments of my life where I had to completely reinvent myself and build a completely new identity that will fit the future that I would like to have. So when I heard the story of my dear friend Jetro and about his amazing project, the Tea with the Soul, and the amazing things that he did in Philippines, I was so deeply touched and so deeply inspired. And thank you so much, Jetro, for inviting me to be here today on the Tea for the Soul. Being able to transform and rewrite your story, no matter the odds, no matter the struggles and the challenges you have to face, is the most powerful thing we can do as human beings. And your story deeply inspired me, Jetro. And I know it continues to inspire so many people all over the world. And thank you for creating the space for many others, such as myself, to share our stories. And cheers to that. My journey started in Serbia, former Yugoslavia. I was born in 1987. So as a child, my country went through so many different political, socioeconomical problems. Former Yugoslavia was falling apart. Certain parts were fighting with each other. The war started. It was a really rough time for many, many people. So I just didn't like reality I was born into, while many problems were happening in my outside world. Many problems were happening at home as well. And as a child, I realized I need to create just a better reality for myself. The one I was living into, I simply didn't like it. It didn't fit the journey I wanted to be on. I knew it's a part of my journey, but I knew my soul is heading to something completely different. So I would spend hours, hours daydreaming as a child. I would just lay down on the floor in my bedroom and just think about all these beautiful things I would love to experience, all the beautiful places I would love to visit, and people I would love to meet along the way. So now looking back at my life and thinking about all the gorgeous places I've seen, all the beautiful place I live in today, this tropical paradise, and incredible people I got to meet along the way, such as Jetra, it just makes my heart so full. Right? It was a long journey for that daydreaming child with a big imagination to the life I live today. Growing up in a country with so many issues, it made it so small. It made me feel really, really stuck. And I knew since I was very little that I will have to find my happiness elsewhere. I graduated university in Serbia, but a little bit after the graduation, I decided to come to United States on my first trip. And it was one of these work and travel programs for foreign students. I ended up going all the way to Alaska, which was quite an adventure. But that first summer in United States, I just knew I found my place. And there was the moment I was traveling all over US, working and traveling, and there was the moment I was in this small tourist place, also close to the ocean, and in Ocean City, Maryland. And I remember walking down the street with a friend of mine, and saying like this country feels like home for me. I feel like I belong here and this is where I need to be. And she was looking at me a little bit confused and she was like, okay, great, that sounds amazing, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to accomplish it? And I remember telling her back then, I have no clue, but this is where I need to be. And that feeling, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't get rid of it. And after a few months in the United States, I remember going back to Serbia, going back to my family and talking to my mom and saying to her, I need to move to US and I don't know how, but this is where I need to be. And yeah, my mom, she wasn't really happy about it, just to say it. She wasn't happy. And she was like, you just came back after 5 months there. And what are you talking about? It makes no sense. And I was like, Mom, I need to be there. Like, my time here ended. This is not, I don't need to be in Serbia anymore. I was born here, I grew up here, but this is not the place where I'm going to thrive. This is not the place where I'm going to make my dreams come true. And I found my place. And I don't know how I'm gonna make it happen, but that's where I need to be. And year and a half later, I ended up moving to United States. I moved to Chicago. It was winter and it was really rough. I have to say I regretted my decision instantly. And the first year was extremely challenging. I was homesick. I was missing my family so much. I would cry every single time I see the photos of my nephew or when I speak to him. It was a really rough time. New country, trying to improve my English, trying to meet new friends, to fit into this new place, to learn how everything works. And I still had these big dreams, and I was surrounded by so many immigrants at the time who were struggling in the same way like me. And every single person at that time I would share my dreams and hopes with, they would come up with the same story, which life is more difficult than what you believe in. Things are not going to go that smooth. I know you have all these dreams and hopes, but it's not going to be that easy. You might have to give up on some of them. And I would hear it, but I just couldn't take on that mindset. I couldn't. I didn't want to believe in that. And it was hard and difficult to hear it at the time, especially in moments when I was almost losing hope, but I couldn't give up on my dream. I wanted to build this big, beautiful life with less limitations, with more freedom, with more, with waking up every day and just being yourself, being your true self, not having to tone down or hide any parts of you, where you can live in the world where you are welcome to be exactly who you are, unapologetically, to do things you're passionate about. And I couldn't give up on that, with more freedom, with more financial freedom, with more location freedom, with all of it. I knew how it's supposed to feel. I had no clue how I'm gonna make it happen, but I knew how it's supposed to feel. And I couldn't give up on that. And this is what really gave me so much strength, even in the moments where everything seemed so hopeless, so lost around me, where the whole world was crumbling. But this is what kept me going, even during the most challenging times. It took me first few years, I have to say, to start truly seeing the outcome of the hard work I was putting in at the time and not giving up. After a few years, I got my green card, which was it was a game changer for me. I could start working in my field, which was banking. I went to business school in Serbia. I started building my career and I was on a fast track. I was hungry for knowledge, hungry for success, hungry to just build this amazing life for myself and my family. And things started moving and things started happening. Over years, I managed to build an amazing career. I was really good in what I do. I always worked with people. I always loved people, which made me very successful. And it was a beautiful journey. Beautiful journey. I feel like my story at that time was typical story we watch in movies, like for American Dream, creating a material good life, amazing career, which funded a lot of my travels, a lot of amazing things. But I had to admit, as I was living my American dream, I was having a less and less fulfillment and less time for myself. As my career was moving up, I started working like 60 hours a week. I barely had time for myself. I barely had time to even think about what do I want and what makes me happy. And over time, I built a life that was materially good and fulfilling in some ways, but I was moving away of my true soul's mission. I was moving away from the things that really put my soul on fire. And I knew I need to find my path back to it. I just wasn't sure how. And there was a moment I was actually at the highlight of my banking career. Mm, And I was up for another promotion, but I was so burned out. And I kept saying to only my closest friends, I wish I get laid off because I will never leave. I'll never quit this job. And I wouldn't walk away from the life I worked so hard to build. And a few months later, COVID started. And my wish became a reality. I was actually laid off. I lost the job, me along many other people in my bank. And it was stressful to go through that experience. At the same time, it created a space for me to build the life I live today. And it made me truly face myself and forced me to just build a new identity again, for new version of me, for more mature version of me, for a version of me that remembers what truly matters in life. And it was an interesting time, I have to say that. I realized that for the first time in my adult life, I actually have some time for myself just to think and process everything. And I kept asking myself, if I have 10 more years to live, how my life would look like. Do I want next 10 years of my life to look like previous 10? And the answer was no, absolutely not. Even my life looked so good on the outside, it didn't feel good on the inside. So many things were missing and so many things needed to change. During this time, I realized how much of my self-worth was linked to my professional accomplishments. And that's not the person I wanted to be. Yes, I proved to myself what I'm capable of, what I can create career-wise, material-wise, financial-wise, and that was all beautiful. But it wasn't about that. It was going back to myself and who I am as a person, and what is my gift as a human being, and how I get to contribute to this world, and how I get to help and serve and create an impact. So I went back to that. I went back to me. I went back to how I can create an impact, how I can serve this world better, how I can use the life I built, like materially, to do more and to do better. It made me also think, reevaluate relationship that I was in at that time. I was with my ex-fiance, a fiance at the time for 8 years. And everything had to change. At that time, I I started another banking job, but I knew that's going to be my last banking job. And a year later, I made so many major changes in my life. I decided to end my engagement, my 8 years long relationship. I decided to start my coaching business, leave my banking career, and start coaching, which I was passionate about for so many years. And I just didn't have courage to do it earlier. But now was the time. As I wasn't tied to Chicago anymore, where I used to live, my big dream was always to live somewhere in Latin America, improve my Spanish, travel, live in different environment, live somewhere tropical where I'm surrounded by palm trees and nice weather. And finally, I could actually do it. And that's how I decided to come to Mexico. So back in 2021, I just took all those changes and chances and truly took a leap of faith. Needless to say, almost everyone in my life thought I lost my mind. Even one of my closest friends from Serbia asked me dead serious, why are you ruining your life? Your life was so good, organized, everything worked, and now you are burning your life to the ground to do something completely different. And even it didn't make sense to anyone around me, it felt right in my heart. My intuition was fully on board, and I knew I have to follow it. I'm so eternally grateful to get to live the life I live today in tropical paradise, surrounded by amazing people. Waking up, slow mornings, having a cup of tea like this, taking it easy, going to the beach, working on my business, helping clients with the things that I know how much I used to struggle with and how much it changed my life to be now on that other side. It's so fulfilling, it's so beautiful. And knowing that I don't have roles to play anymore, I just get to be myself every single day with everything that is, with all the beauty, with all the struggles, with all my qualities, my flaws, all the perfect imperfections. And to be able to say, I love this version of me. But to get to there, sometimes we have to go through that and rebirths over and over again to let our old identities die. That doesn't serve us anymore, that doesn't support our soul's journey, and to build a new one. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody expects from us, and to choose and carve our own path. And this is my wish for all of you. And thank you for listening today. Thank you, Jetro, for inviting me to be here. Thank you for living that life, carving that path for yourself, and inspiring me and many people around the world to do the same. And to, by loving yourself so deeply, help us love ourselves more every single day. This is your gift to this world. Sending you so much love.